Hello students, the first unit of your subject thermodynamics and statistical physics deal with the kinetic theory of matter. In this unit, we will cover the topics related to ideal gas, real gas, as well as transport phenomena of gases. Actually today's lecture will focus on the facts and basic principles as well as equations related to ideal gas. So, the objective of today's lecture is to understand the kinetic theory of matter with a special focus on ideal gas. And here, as you can see, the lecture outcomes will be at the end of this lecture, you will be able to learn about the different state of matter. With the advancement of knowledge, you will get the knowledge of kinetic theory of gases. First, we will learn about the general theory of matter, and then we will focus on gases particularly. Then you will learn the ideal gas equation as well as different laws associated with ideal gas. Okay, so to cover these objectives and to make you learn about these things, I divided my lecture into different topics. The first topic is kinetic theory of matter, then what is matter and the states of matter. Third topic is related to ideal gas and its equation. Then we will talk about postulates of kinetic theory of gases, and then we will derive an expression for the pressure that is exerted by a gas, and using that expression we will derive the gas equation, and finally we will derive some other gas laws that are known as Boyle's law, Charles law, and Reynolds law. Here are some specific books which you can use for further study if you want to learn more in detail apart from your syllabus. Okay, so particularly I would recommend this third book, Heat and Thermodynamics, that is written by Brijlal and Subramaniam. This is quite easy to understand and simply written. Okay, so let us start with the kinetic theory of matter. So what is kinetic theory? It is just a theory of matter that actually explains the nature of energy which is associated with the motion of molecules of any substance. Okay, there are some specific points which can actually specify this kinetic theory of matter. So according to this theory, every substance is made of large number of particles which are known as molecules. Okay, so normally for the matter or these kind of gas, solid, liquid, we don't use term particles, we normally use molecules, and these molecules are considered as the smallest free unit of any matter which can exist in free state. Okay, if you go further on the scale, further smaller on the scale, we will find atom, electron, but they are actually does not exist in free state. So molecules are the smallest unit of any matter which can exist in free state. And one more thing, they are always in motion irrespective of their state. Maybe their speed, their motion can be very slow, their motion can be random, their motion depending on different state, it can be different, but definitely they are always in motion. Although we cannot see this motion in case of solids, but there is some particular motions. Okay, and this motion is related to their kinetic energy. Then the next point is, first one is kinetic energy, then second point is related to the potential energy of these molecules. So there is actually always an attraction force between these molecules, and that causes the potential energy of these matter. Okay, that means the heat which is given, that heat can be in any form of energy. I mean, this is just an energy form. Okay, so that which we have to give to any matter, that will finally increase the energy of molecules, that is mainly constitute of two components. One is kinetic energy and second one is potential energy. Okay, so the next topic is related to states of matter. So in your previous classes, if you remember, you must have learned that there are three states of matter. And what are that? These are solid, liquid, and gases. But actually, these were our observation which were done long back, before the development of science and advancement of sciences. Now, with the advance of science and research, now the states of matter can be of five types. Three are the conventional one, like solid, liquid, and gas. We can find it on our planet Earth. We can find it in our daily life. The other two are plasma, and second one is Bose-Einstein condensate. So in all, now we know that there are five states of matter are possible. These states of matter can be differentiated on the basis of energy. If you see here on the screen, for example, the lowest energy state is Bose-Einstein condensate, which is a form of solid but at very low temperature. Now, if we add some energy here, heat energy here, it will convert to normal solids. Then if we add more energy, then the solids will convert to liquid state. After adding more energy further, it will change to gaseous state, and finally adding a huge amount will result into the formation of plasmas. So here you can see this is on the energy scale. This has the lowest temperature and this side has the highest temperature. Now in the next section we will review these states of matter one by one, from the lowest energy side to highest energy side. So the first one is Bose-Einstein condensate. This is actually a form of solids, but as I told you, it is solid at very low temperature. So when the atoms of any matter, they get cold, they get closer and begin to kind of formation of clump up and look as one big blob, as shown in the picture. Like you can see here, these are some blobs. These particles, or we can call it molecules, they are extremely close together and they barely move. From our eyes or even from the microscope, it is really difficult to observe their motion. So they barely move. And this state can be formed only at extremely cold temperature. At normal temperature, it is not possible to find this Bose-Einstein condensate. So as I told before also, the point is written here, basically Bose-Einstein is a forged solid. Yeah, that is true because this is actually solid form, but the only difference is this is at extremely low temperature. And of course, this is the lowest energy of the five states of matter. Now, if we move to solids. So what are solids? As we know, in the solids, particles or molecules, they are tightly packed and close together, which means the intermolecular distance between two molecules are very small, and the intermolecular attraction force are quite large. In this case, when the intermolecular distance is very small and the intermolecular attraction force is large, the particles or molecules, they cannot move too much. They, of course, they move more in comparison to Bose-Einstein condensate state, but they cannot move too much. The only permissible motion is oscillation or vibration. Oscillation means something like this, or vibration can be something like this. Okay, due to these large intermolecular forces, solids have definite shape and definite volume. So that is quite obvious. If two molecules are attracted or are attached with the very strong intermolecular force, they cannot de-shape or they cannot go out of some particular volume where they are located. So that means they have definite shape and definite volume. Most of the solids are crystals, and these crystals are made of unit cells. Unit cell means there is some particular arrangement of atoms that is repetitive. So these crystals are made of unit cells which are in the repeating patterns. The shape of crystal reflects the arrangement of these molecules with the solid, within the solid. So you can see in the picture here, they have a strong bonds and they have definite shape, definite crystal structure. Here these are some atoms, and this we can define as a unit cell. Okay, there can be many atoms in one unit cell. This is the smallest part of any solid or any crystal. Now let us move to third state of matter, that is known as liquids. And because we are going to the higher side of energy, that means the intermolecular forces will become slightly weaker in comparison to solids or Bose-Einstein condensates. And because intermolecular forces are smaller, that means the intermolecular distance will be larger than solid, and that's why molecules can occupy any position within the liquid. Okay, uh, so because of these two properties, intermolecular distance is large and intermolecular force is very small, that means the molecules can move slowly slowly through a container, but they can move faster than the molecules of solid. That means the molecules are not confined to any fixed mean position. They keep colliding with each other within liquid, and in this collision, there are both possibilities. They may change or may not change their kinetic energy. Because of these properties, because of less intermolecular force, liquids does not possess any definite shape. But for sure, they do have a definite volume. That means the size is definite, but the shape is not definite. Is a very interesting properties of the liquids is known as surface tension. What is surface tension? Because the molecules on the surface of liquids, they have comparatively less force. Okay, they feel a downward force from the nearby molecules below the surface. So the molecules from on the surface, they have some downward force from here. This is always feels some downward force due to the molecules presented below the surface. Okay, that means that force these molecules to behave, or that force this upper surface to behave as a membrane, and that phenomena is known as surface tension. Okay, now let us move to another state, that is known as gas. And in this state, particles are very far apart. That means the intermolecular distance is very large, and the intermolecular force is very less. In this case, because intermolecular force is very less, the particles or molecules, they can move very fast and free to occupy any available space. So if you move any gas from one vessel to one large room, the gas molecules can flow from this vessel to the other corner of any room. That means they can move very fast. So according to this, they do not have any definite shape and they do not have any definite volume, right? Now let us go to the last state of matter, that is known as plasma. It is interesting to note that this plasma is the artificial state of matter. Artificial means that does not exist on Earth naturally. They can occur naturally on sun and star. So they are artificially made for our planet, our Earth, but they can be formed on sun and star, because there they can find lot of energy. On sun we have a huge energy, so they can be occurred naturally. Now in this state, particles are extremely far apart. Okay, then the second point is particles can move extremely fast, but the temperature required to create these plasma is more than 300 degrees Celsius. Okay, which is really difficult to achieve, which is really difficult to get on Earth. So that's why we can create plasma by some means, but that cannot exist naturally, right? Basically, plasma is nothing, just a hot gas. When these particles collide with the energy, they break apart into very small particles or some small components that are known as protons, neutrons, and electrons. And this mixture result into plasma, into the formation of plasma, right? Okay, we have already talked about the matter, how these are formed, what are the types, and all the properties related to these matters. Now we will focus on gaseous state, and particularly in this topic, in this unit, we will consider first about the ideal gas, or we can call it perfect gas. So as the name declares, the term ideal gas refers to a hypothetical gas, because there is nothing ideal on our planet Earth. So the ideal gas refers to a hypothetical gas composed of molecules which follow few rules. These rules are given here point wise. Number one rule is ideal gas molecules do not attract or repel each other. Okay, so there is no interaction between the ideal gas molecules. The only interaction between ideal gas molecules would be an elastic collision. Okay, when they collide with each other, there is an elastic collision between them, as well as elastic collision with the walls of that container. So that means if we consider, because ideal gas does not exist in nature, that means if we consider the real gases, we can understand that the intermolecular forces of real gas at very low pressure are negligible. That means real gases can be considered as ideal gas at low pressure, because there is almost no intermolecular force. Okay, now if we recall our ideal gas equation, that can be represented in terms of pressure, volume, and temperature, and that is given by ideal gas law, which is represented mathematically as PV equals to RT. In addition to these conditions, there is one more important condition that should be satisfied to be ideal gas, and that is given by du upon dp at constant temperature should always be 0, where du is a small change in internal energy of ideal gas with pressure dp at constant temperature. Okay, now if we differentiate that ideal gas equation with respect to volume, what we get, dp over dv, this is the differentiation with respect to volume. We get it because volume was in the denominator side, that will differentiate in the form of minus RT upon V square, and we know from the gas equation RT equals to PV. If we put PV here, V will cancel out with V, 1V, then the final equation will come minus P upon V. Now we can write it in another form. If we want to write in du upon dv at constant temperature, that can be written as du upon dp at constant temperature into dp upon dv at constant temperature. And if we put the value of dp upon dv from here, that equation will become du upon dv at constant temperature equals to du upon dp at constant temperature into minus p upon v at constant temperature. Now we know, because the pressure and volume is finite number, so this term cannot be 0, right? Now as we know, du upon dp at constant temperature is already 0. That means this is 0 and this is some finite quantity. That means du upon dv at constant temperature will also be 0 because of this term as 0. Okay, so we get that du upon dv equals to 0 and du upon dp equals to 0 at constant temperature. That means u cannot be a function of pressure and volume. It can be a function of only temperature. That means the internal energy of ideal gas can be dependent only on temperature, and that can be written in mathematical form as u equals to ft. Okay, now here are some postulate of, as I told you, first we will learn about the kinetic theory of matter. So we have already seen some points related to kinetic theory of matter. Now we will focus on particularly gases. So here are some postulate of kinetic theory of gases. The first point of this postulate is a gas is made of several small molecules. This is quite similar point which we have already studied in case of kinetic theory of matter. So the gas is made of several small molecules which are same for a particular gas, but they can be different for different gases. Okay, then the distance between these molecules is quite large, and that is larger in comparison to solid and liquids. However, the intermolecular forces are just opposite to that. The intermolecular forces for gases are negligible, and they can be considered as zero also at low pressure. Now, the next point is these gas molecules are in constant random motion. They are never stationary. They always have some motion. They can collide with each other. So, if, for example, n molecules are moving in this direction at the same time, another n molecule can be moved in this direction or in this direction or in the bottom direction. So they are free to move in any direction, and together they form a random motion. Okay. Then the next point is about the collision of these molecules. They can collide with each other and with the walls of container. This collision can cause the pressure of the gas. What we define as a pressure of gas is caused by the collision of these molecules with the walls of vessel. Right? Now, when collision occurs, the molecules actually they do not lose the kinetic energy. That means the collisions are said to be perfectly elastic. Okay, because they are always in motion, the distance between two collisions is termed as free path, whereas the average distance between these two collisions is known as mean free path. Okay, this mean free path is inversely dependent on the pressure. Okay. Now, because we know this collision cause the pressure on of the gas, we will derive the expression for this pressure exerted by a gas. So, from the postulate of kinetic theory, we know that molecules can collide with each other and with the walls of container, and this collision create the pressure of gas. To derive this expression, let us consider a cubic vessel as shown in this figure with the dimension L, and the volume will be L cube because this is cubic in shape. Okay. Now, the next point let us assume is that there are n molecules in this box, and each of them has having mass m. Now, let us consider that a molecule P is moving in the box. We are considering according to this figure. Let us consider molecule P is moving in the box with a velocity c1 in this direction. Okay, that can be expressed in three mutual perpendicular components. If we divide it into three mutual perpendicular components, that can be represented as u1 in x direction, v1 in y direction, and w1 in z direction. So mathematically we can write c1 square equals to u1 square plus v1 square plus w1 square. Okay. Now, if we consider that this molecule is in random motion, for example, we are considering right now that molecule is moving along x-axis only. So the molecule P will strike B, C, F, G face with a velocity component of u1. Here u1 is in x direction, so we are considering that the velocity u1 that the particle is striking with the wall with velocity u1, and that time the corresponding momentum will be m into u1 because the mass of that particle we are considering as m. So the same molecule, after striking with this face, it will revert back and it will strike again with the face ADEH. Okay, after reflecting back, and because in this direction it had a momentum mu1, when it will go in the reverse direction, the component will be minus u1. So the momentum will be minus mu1, and that's why if we want to calculate the momentum change in these two collisions, what will happen? mu1 minus mu1. So the total momentum change due to these collisions will be mu1 minus mu1 equals to 2mu1. Okay. Now, because the velocity of this molecule is u1 and the total distance traveled by this particle for these two successive collisions is 2L, because the dimension of the box is L and it is striking first this wall and then secondly this wall. So L plus L, the total distance between two collision is 2L. Now from these parameters, velocity we know u1, and the travel distance we know 2L. So the time interval between two successive collisions will be given by the distance divided by velocity, that is 2L upon u1 seconds. So that means the total number of impacts per second will be the reverse of that time. That means u1 upon 2L. So this is the total number of impacts per second of that particular molecule. Now, according to this, the change in momentum of this particle due to total collision in 1 second will be, that is given by Fp. P is the particle, equals to, for one particle it was 2, for two collisions it was 2mu1, and if we want to see the change in momentum due to total collisions in 1 second, then it will be multiplied by u1 upon 2L. That will be equals to mu1 square upon L, right? This is because of only one particle due to all the collisions in 1 second. Now if we want to see the momentum change of all the n particles during all the collisions in 1 second, what will happen? We will multiply, and that change of momentum will be equals to the force Fx in that particular direction. That will be given by Fx equals to m. This was only one particle u1. If we consider it for n particle, it will be m into u1 square plus u2 square plus u3 square, and so on. For nth particle, it will be un square, and that will be divided by L. L is everywhere, so we can take as a common. Now, if we calculate the pressure exerted on the walls BCFG and ADH by dividing this force by the area of these walls, because pressure is given by force per unit area. So the area of these two walls is given by L square, because the dimension is L and this is cubic box. So L into L is L square. So the pressure will be given by Px. The x component of pressure is given by Px equals to Fx upon L square. Simply it will be turned into m into u1 square plus u2 square plus dot 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 plus un square divided by L cube. Okay. In the same way, if we want to consider the pressure in y direction, it will be equals to the same way m into only the velocity component in y direction, that is v. So m into v1 square plus v2 square plus so on, vn square divided by L cube. And similarly it will be in z direction, pz equals to m into w1 square plus w2 square plus dot 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 plus wn square upon L cube. Okay. Now because these molecules are same and they all are in random motion, so that means the pressure of gas will be same in all direction. Now right now we have considered only these planes which are intersecting on x-axis. Now if we consider the pressure of gas is same in all direction, the mean pressure P will be given as P equals to x component, y component and z component divided by 3. That will give the average pressure, the mean pressure. So we have written this m into we have written in the bracket now, because Px, Py, Pz all have this u1, v1, w1 component. So we have just together we have written u1 square plus v1 square plus w1 square plus u2 square plus v2 square plus w2 square, and so on. For nth particle it is un square plus vn square plus wn square divided by 3L cube, right? Now if we see from our earlier equation that u square plus b square plus w square is given by c square, right? In terms of first particle, we can write it in c1 square, in the form of c1 square. For the second particle it can be c2, third particle it can be c3, and for nth particle it will be cn. So m into c1 square plus c2 square plus c3 square and so on plus cn square divided by 3L cube, right? Now let us consider c as a root mean square velocity of the molecules, which can be written as c square equals to c1 square plus C2 square plus C3 square and so on, Cn square divided by n. So we can rearrange this and find it Nc square equals to C1 square plus C2 square and so on, Cn square. Now if you compare here, see this expression is given here. So we can put the value of this in equation 1 and finally we get the pressure equals to m into Nc square divided by 3L cube. We can replace L cube by volume of the cubic box of the space. So we can write it P equals to mnc square upon 3V. Right? Now if we represent the total mass of total gas, we have considered before, the small m is the mass of one molecule. If we represent the total mass of gas is capital M, then m will be equals to small m into total number of molecules, so m into n. We can replace this m into n by capital M and the expression will be mc square upon 3V. Now if we consider m upon v, this is mass divided by volume and that is the density of gas or density of any material. So we can replace it by rho. The final formula will be P equals to 1 by 3 rho C square and that is the expression for the pressure exerted by any gas. Now here are some examples for the estimation of RMS speeds of molecules. Let us take one example here. First is hydrogen. Now we know the density of hydrogen at normal temperature and pressure condition is given by 0.000089 gram per cc and the pressure will be given by H into D into G. H is 76 centimeter of mercury, D is density of mercury that is given by 13.6 and into G is the constant that is given by 980. The value is 980. If we calculate this, we find this figure in dyne per centimeter square. Now we know the formula for pressure P equals to rho C square upon 3. From here we have to calculate RMS speed of molecule. So we can get C equals to under root 3P upon rho. Already we have given this P value 1012.928 into 3 divided by density we have already known. So if we calculate this expression, we get 18.4 into 10 to the power 4 centimeter per second. So this is the way how to estimate RMS speed of different molecules, right? We can calculate of any molecules. For example, the second one is calculated for oxygen. Here the only difference is related to the density of oxygen. Similarly, we have calculated for the air. You can practice it by your own and you can find it very easy. Here is another example and in this example we have to calculate the number of molecules in 1 cc of oxygen at normal temperature and pressure condition using the following data. Here some of the data is given. For example, density of mercury is given, RMS velocity of oxygen molecule is given, the mass of one molecule of oxygen is given, and here we have to calculate the number of molecules. For the number of molecules, we know the formula one step earlier before the final form. We get P equals to M and C square divided by 3V. That means from here number of molecules N will be equals to 3 into PV upon MC square. We know everything. We can calculate the things from the given values. P equals to, we know HDG, this is well-known formula, we can calculate it, and this was calculated in our previous example also, so it is the same value. Now putting this value and the given values here, we get this expression, and finally after calculating we get the total number of molecules 2.697 into 10 to the power 19, that is in 1 cc of oxygen at NTP condition, right? Now we will see how to derive our ideal gas equation from this expression of pressure exerted by the gas. So we know that the pressure is given by mc square upon 3b or equals to rho c square upon 3. We can rearrange it. Pv equals to mc square upon 3 equals to mnc square upon 3. Now we know that the kinetic energy of one molecule is given by 1 by 2 mc square, and also can be given by 3 by 2 kT, where K is Boltzmann constant, T is absolute temperature, and the other things you have already been introduced in this lecture. So using this equation, we can write equation 1 as PV equals to 2 by 3 into 1 by 2 nmc square. We are just simply putting the value of mc square equals to this, right? Now we are rearranging this 2 by 3 into n into 1 by 2 mc square. So we can put 1 by 2 mc square as 3 by 2 kT here. So PV will be equals to n into kT, where we can write n into k as R. PV equals to RT, where R is given as gas constant, universal gas constant, n is the Avogadro number, and k is Boltzmann constant. So we can see that from the equation we can derive the ideal gas law. Okay, now we will try to derive different gas laws. For example, the first one is Boyle's law. So we already know the formula, P equals to 1 by 3 rho c square, or we can write it 1 by 3 m upon v c square. If we rearrange it, PV equals to 1 by 3 m c square. Now, if we consider the constant temperature, which is a condition for Boyle's law, at constant temperature, the RMS velocity of any gas molecule will be constant, and definitely what we are taking the amount of gas, the mass will also be constant. So that means 1 by 3 mc square, all the terms in this is constant. That means PV equals to constant at constant temperature, and that is nothing but Boyle's law only. So we can see this expression came direct derivation of Boyle's law. Okay, this can be deduced from that derivation, right? Second law is Reynolds law, that is given by Reynolds, and we know from gas equation PV equals to nKT. That means V is constant for any given gas, or for any gas in the particular space. That V is constant, and Nk will also be constant, because N is number of molecules, K is Boltzmann constant. So these are constant. That means we can write this equation in the form of P is directly proportional to temperature. It means the pressure of the gas is directly proportional to temperature if the volume remains constant, and this is known as Reynolds law. Okay, finally, very important law is remaining as Charles law. It can also be directly understood from the gas equation. Gas equation is given by PV equals to nKT. Now, if we keep pressure of the gas constant, which is the essential condition for Charles law, we will get V is directly proportional to temperature. P is constant, Nk is already constant. That means volume will be directly proportional to temperature if the pressure is remaining constant, and that is known as Charles law, right? Okay, so this is all about today's lecture. I hope you have understood about the ideal gas and their related laws, the exerted pressure. Now this is time to evaluate your knowledge, what you have got from this lecture. So we will do some quiz play. Let's do some exercise by solving these questions. First question is, the molecules of an ideal gas have, option 1 is only kinetic energy, or only potential energy, both kinetic energy and potential energy, or none of them. What is the right answer? We have already discussed in our lecture that there is a condition for ideal gas. There should be no interaction between the molecules. That means there should be no or very small potential energy. That means the option A is the right answer. Only kinetic energy should be associated with the molecules of an ideal gas. Okay. Now, second question is, the value of Boltzmann constant is given by, options are 1.38 into 10 to the minus 16 joule per Kelvin, 1.38 joule per Kelvin, 1.38 into 10 to the minus 23 joule per Kelvin, and 8.314 joule per Kelvin. What are the right answer? This you have to remember, although I didn't mention in my lecture, but this is quite basic question from your 11th or 12th study. So you should know, or you should remember this value. The right answer is answer C, that is 1.38 into 10 to the 23 joule per Kelvin. The next question is, according to kinetic theory of gases, the relation between pressure, density and mean square velocity C is given by P equals to half P square, half rho C square, or P equals to 1 by 3 rho C square, or 1 by 2 rho C, or 1 by 3 rho C. So the right answer, we have already derived this equation. The important part of today's lecture, that was the exerted pressure by gas molecules on the vessel. That was, we have derived answer B, P equals to 1 by 3 rho C square. So the right answer is B. Next question is, the temperature of a gas is doubled, then its root mean square speed becomes double, under root 2 times, half, or 3 times. So we can use our formula which we have derived using this P equals to 1 by 3 rho C square. Different laws we have derived. Using that, we can calculate this, and the right answer is B, that is under root 2 times. Okay. Let us go to the next question, that is, the average velocity of the molecules in a gas in equilibrium is given is directly proportional to root 2. Second option is proportional to T square. Then the third option is proportional to T or equals to 0. What is the average velocity of molecules in gas in equilibrium condition? So the right answer is answer D, that is equals to 0. If it is in equilibrium, that means there should be no average velocity, there should be no average motion. Although if we talk about individual gas molecule, then there must be some motion. But because we are talking about the gas in equilibrium, that means all the molecules, they are in such a motion that their average velocity should be 0. That is known as the condition of equilibrium. Now the next question is, the average energy of the molecules of monoatomic gas at constant temperature is given by half kT, 3 by 2 kT, or kT, or 5 by 2 kT. What is the right answer? We have already seen this. We have used this expression during the derivation of our exerted pressure, and there we have used as 3 by 2 kT. 1 by 2 mc square equals to 3 by 2 kT. This expression we have used in our derivation, right? So you should remember this value. The average energy of the molecules is given by 3 by 2 kT. The next question is, a diatomic gas molecule has translational, rotational, and vibrational degree of freedom. Then the ratio Cp upon Cv is given by 4 answers: 1.29, 1.33, 1.4, or 1.67. So the right answer you have to calculate using the formula Cp upon Cv. That is, the answer is 1.29. So the right answer is A. Then the next question is, the ratio of two specific heats Cp upon Cv of a diatomic gas is given by 1.67, 1.40, 1, or 2. The right answer for this question, again you have to do some calculation. Right now I am telling it directly, but at home you can practice for this. You can try it to calculate by yourself. The right answer is B, 1.40. Okay. The next question is, the kinetic energy per unit volume of a perfect gas is equal to 2 by 3p, 3 by 2p, p by 3, or half p. This is actually we can calculate from the derivation of different laws, and the right answer is B, that is given by 3 by 2 p. The last question of today's quiz is, for a gas, the RMS speed at 800 Kelvin is 4 times the value at 200K, twice the value of 200K, half the value of 200K, or it is same as at 200K. So the right answer for this question is B, twice the value of 200K. So students, I hope you must have learned a lot of things from today's lecture. I will finish it now, and Thank you so much for your attention.